Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about, in Australia at least, but also I've noticed elsewhere around the Western world, where the globalists are really trying to gin up and juice up this idea that there's this incredible shortage of workers. The Western economies are screaming for more workers, hundreds of millions upon millions of new workers, because there is such a shortage. Now, I'll concentrate on the propaganda, and it's propaganda in Australia to try and juice up this idea. I mean, what intrigues me is the extent of the lies that they're prepared to tell in order to justify it. I mean, lie upon lie, untruth upon untruth, misrepresent. It just goes on and on and on. The extent to which they're prepared to tell these lies, and by the way, in the complete confidence that they're going to get away with it. No one is going to hold them to account for these lies. There is no major media outlet that's going to question it and go, well, where did you get those numbers from? Where did this report come from? So even all the mainstream media outlets are running these lies and misinformation to say there's worker shortages, and in outrageous pieces of propaganda and highly emotional, staged photographs, photographs of people from third world countries who they only want a better life. They only want what's wrong with that? And do you not want them to come to the West? Why do if you've got anything against them coming from their total absolute basket case of a country, these illiterate peasants, if you've got something against that, then you are Hitler. Nothing, no two ways about it. You are Hitler. Now, I've looked at it's one article just here I've got up where it's got, some pretty pathetic sort of photographs of some third world peasants and saying how wonderful they are and how they want to come and work here, and they've got so much to offer and incredible skills, and they're so hardy and this, that, the next thing. And so they're needed. We have to have these illiterate third world peasants come to Australia to fill the worker shortage. Now, the claim in Australia is the worker shortage is, depending on whose numbers you look at, between 481,000, I think, was the lowest, and 500,000 is a round number, is the highest. So we can assume sort of, about 500,000 jobs that they claim. Now, they claim there are 500,000 jobs that cannot be filled. These are vacancies with employers screaming for employees to come forward, but there's just no one out there. There's just all these vacancies, all these job vacancies, all these job openings, but just isn't anyone to fill them. It's close to a national emergency, a bit like the emergency that climate change poses, for example. That's a national emergency which requires urgent government action by decree. We haven't got time to go through the political and legal processes. It's an emergency, and we just have to act quickly and decisively without reference to any law or any procedure or policy or a democratic institution. We just have to do it. So that's where they're heading with this pretend emergency that requires drastic and immediate, high-handed action. So I've got together a few news articles here. And I did a video on this a few weeks ago. So just looking at the claims that they're making in these articles about the shortages. Now, so 500,000 jobs is a shortage. Okay, so I'm looking for something in any of these articles that says where these shortages come from. Now, there are vague references saying there are 40,000 jobs in some of the rural areas of Australia, for example. Now, if you really sort of drill down and you've got to spend a bit of time on the internet running around, then you can find not dissimilar stories out in, say, some of the rural newspapers and media outlets out in those country areas. So, assuming that the claim of these, because there's no definitive numbers, it's just really straw poll type stuff. Very anecdotal about these vacancies supposed to exist, and you find that it's in rural areas where farmers want seasonal fruit pickers. So they want someone for 3 weeks, 6 weeks to pick fruit or to help bring the harvest in or something like that. Just grunt labourers and the like. So now they're offering the lowest of the lowest wage. You get food which is supplied, which is heavily overpriced. You could buy it cheaper in just about any restaurant, I think, or takeout style restaurants. So you get food which is heavily overpriced. So they're getting like $20 an hour, but there's X amount deducted for food and X amount deducted for accommodation. So in reality, the worker's being paid $3 an hour in actual reality. So it's a bit of a scam. Now, let's say that the farmers are under pressure, cost pressures, and they need cheap labour. I kind of understand that in the wider scheme of things, but now if we look at the areas where the farmers are claiming there's the most farmers claiming in that they've got all these alleged vacancies, then those are also in areas of unusually high unemployment. So remember, we're long way from the big cities here. So unemployment is 30-40% in these places. So there's easily enough workers available to do the work on these farms, easily enough, that are local. They're just round the corner. They're just in the local town or the villages clustered around that farming belt. So there's workers there. Why are the farmers not using those workers? Now those workers don't want to work for $5 or $3, whatever an hour. They want the $20 an hour, and they want to be able to commute to their own homes. Maybe some would stay in the barns and I did this once. When I was still in high school, in year 11 high school, I went out, did a stint in a farm, and the accommodation, the food they offer was very basic. As a kid, you kind of don't mind. It's a bit of an adventure and all that sort of thing. But it was something I vowed never to do again. It was a cool spell of weather, and I remember freezing my ass off. But anyway, so there's plenty of workers out there, but the farmer just doesn't want to pay the minimum rate. So because the barn is there, that they put the workers in, the third world peasant workers in the barns there anyway. So it's not as if the farmer's got to specially erect housing or accommodation or portable, rooms or anything like that. That's already there. So that actually isn't a cost. So by deducting that, the farmers really, it's a bit of a scam there to say, well, I'm going to lick you $10 an hour out of your pay for your accommodation, given that it's not specially provided or specially provisioned or anything like that. In terms of the food, some of these bigger farms where they may have a lot of workers anyway, some of the kitchens are close to industrial size, and the cooking pots they have there are huge. They're vats, industrial vats. So they're they can cook for 20, 30, 40, 50 people quite easily. It's not like they have to make special provisions or bring in special cooks or anything like that. That's already part of the show. So in reality, all the farmer wants is $3 or $5 an hour labour. That's what they want. So it's not a vacancy at all, far from it. And again, there's plenty of local people that could sort those vacancies. Now, the other large category of vacancies is in, again, part-time, short-term jobs in say tourism, retail, and hospitality. Cleaning hotel rooms, those sort of type jobs, which traditionally pay very, very, they're the lowest paid jobs. Now, what the article is arguing is that there simply isn't enough workers to fill, for example, customer-facing retail shop type jobs. So the solution to that is to bring in third world peasants that don't speak a word of English. That's going to solve it. I mean, the absurdity of that proposition is just, it's just ridiculous. So clearly, again, they want the cheap labour. Now, there's a huge scam that goes on with things like cafes and hospitality and those sorts of things, where the employers will take someone on, like a third world peasant, and say, all right, then, well, you have to work for me for 2 months to prove, to learn what you need to do and to prove that you're a good worker. And, I'll give you a free meal when you do. But other than that, I'm not going to pay you. You have to work for free for 2 months. Now, because there's an avalanche of these sort of people that they propose to bring in, the restaurant owner or the cafe owner is never short of people coming along that he's churning and burning. And at the end of a couple of months, they can say, look, I don't know, you're a borderline case, Wingy Wong, but I'll give you I'll give you another month to try you out, but I'm just still not so sure about you. So the peasant, the semi-literate or minimally literate peasant, then has to work free for another month. Excuse me, free for another month to in this elaborate pretense that they're being trained or tried out or tested or something like that. It's absurd, but there you go. So really, this supplies a steady stream of free exploitable labour that you wouldn't get from the local people. Let's suppose the worker works out, and if the work is really good, I've no doubt the restaurant would keep them on and start paying them. But the more people they can get for free, the more profitable their business is, and those businesses aren't hugely profitable. So if they can get most, if not all, of their workers for free, and just churn them and burn them and roll them along for the whole year, that can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to the owner of the business, who may also be, by the way, originally a third world immigrant. So anyway, this is this exploitable labour thing, the cheap labour, this idea that people who don't speak a lick of English are going to fill retail-facing customer-facing retail roles is equally absurd. But if you give someone just a few key words, and I've noticed this in shops around Sydney, they've got their keywords. How are you today? Thank you. Just a basic, please sign here, and you get that few sort of sentences they've got. But if you say something to them or ask for something that's not on their checklist or their little slogan list or something like that, they stare at you blankly. I mean, they're stuffed. They don't know what to do. So there's also, using those sort of people to say, operate cash registers or do very, very simple repetitive jobs. But again, it's a cheap labour thing. So there's nothing to do with shortages. If you look at the amount of people that are looking for work or unemployed, or then they could easily fill all those roles. So it has nothing to do with a shortage of people. Now, the other side of which I've commented on as well is that there's a lot of casual jobs there, a lot of casual jobs that are very uncertain. You get half an hour's notice that they need you in the restaurant, and if you're not there, then the gig's given to someone else. If you don't respond with a text quick enough, 3 people can turn up to do the same shift. So the owner just sends the other 2 people home. They may have travelled quite a distance to get there, but so it's a very tenuous, very uncertain, very minute by minute, day by day existence for these people. They never know how many hours, even if they turn up. If the restaurant might be suddenly very busy and they get called on, but if they turn up and an hour later the restaurant goes quiet, then the owner can very well just say, no, you can go now. And so they've got paid $20, but they've spent $25 traveling and commuting and parking, and that's so it's a very tenuous existence. Now the the smaller like takeout food stores, that sort of thing, they're also saying there's a big shortage, but there is no shortage. There's just that they can't offer any reliable hours that somebody local would accept, and the local people may be on some sort of like COVID related government handout. But the minute they accept 1 hour of work, then they lose that benefit for up to 6 weeks. So why would they do that? And now if the cafe owner can say, look, I'll give you 20 hours a week, guaranteed, reliable, then the worker would happily accept that, and it's a better deal than them being on a government benefit. But when they're only offered nothing. There's no plan, there's no roster, there's no a guarantee of hours or a guarantee of a minimum amount of hours. When that doesn't exist, these people, well, no, why should I risk giving up my government benefit for and then 6 weeks going without if you can't offer me reliable hours? Now, there's a little bit different when you're a recent immigrant arrival. You're not entitled to any of those sort of benefits then, and you're living communally, like 20 plus people to a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. You can afford to do those sort of things and take those sort of risks, given A, you've got no other options, and B, you're living communally where everyone's and these people come from cultures where they tend to have a sharing ethic. They don't understand capitalism as we do, and the profit motive and anything like that. So they have a culture of sharing, and it's considered just normal. It's just how they do it. And you see this too in the African cultures, and the African attitude to reparations is, but you white people have so much, why won't you share it with us? Now, that attitude was sort of comes from a tribal hunter-gatherer mentality where everything around you is organic, and everything that you see is natural and produced naturally by the land and the animals and the trees and the plants. It just, everything is there, and you just gather it. No one's had to put the time and the labor and the effort into specifically creating that bounty. And that's something that, again, many African cultures and many islander and third world cultures don't understand, which is why the West is rich and they're poor. Because if you're sharing everything, why should any one person go out and really put a lot of time into anything and developing specific areas of wealth and bounty if all they do is share it? I mean, they want to keep it. Now, if you're the star hunter of the group, or the best, I don't know, coconut gatherer, the best at climbing up the trees, you do get the secondary benefit that maybe get access to the I don't know, the hottest chicks in the tribe or something like that. So those sorts of benefits, or some sort of respect that people come to you for advice, and so you feel all big and tough, and you get that type of thing, but not a monetary return. So these people live, as I say, 20 plus to a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, so they can afford to do these sort of jobs that a local person couldn't or wouldn't do. And it just wouldn't be sensible for them to do it. So these are some of the things, but at best, of these alleged 500,000 vacancies, job openings that are supposed to exist in Australia, I can't find any. I mean, if there is, I really like someone to explain it to me. Maybe someone can in the comments, but I don't see it. If I look at the biggest job boards in Australia, and bear in mind these job boards have a massive amount of duplicate jobs, because companies will advertise on both these job boards rather than just one or the other. So if I look at all the jobs advertised, the best I can come up with is somewhere in the region of 150,000 total nationally. Now, if these were unfillable, they would have a time. They would be more than 30 days advertised, because it only goes up to 30 days or greater. So they'd easily have 30 days, but hardly any of them are. Most of them are within 2 weeks, within 1 week, 2 weeks. Is probably the major bulk, and then 3 weeks. So even between 3 weeks and 4 weeks, the amount of jobs that aren't filled in that time is quite small. I would say well within the realms of normal normal sort of vacancies. And you know, so, some of these jobs are really just scam fronts. You know, we want someone with 5 million PhDs. Oh, we couldn't find anyone. Gee, we've got to import somebody from a third world country. So they use that as a scam to justify importing labour from overseas. Um, so if you take those scams out and all that other stuff, there's no labour shortage, no worker shortage at all. There is a shortage of people offering reliable, steady employment and paying even the minimum wage rate. So that's where, you know, I believe the problem is, and where the challenge is. And also, you know, one employer was sort of talking to me about it's difficult to retain local people, you know, who get a job. If they're any good, you know, they work it out that they're a quick study and they go off and get a better job. But it's difficult to keep these people because they won't be mistreated in the same way as the recent immigrant will. So if someone's, say, gone home, so if they send somebody home, for example, it's quiet, the manager or the owner sends somebody, I don't need you now, if you go. And then an hour later, things get busy. The person may have just walked back in the door of their place, and next thing you know, they're getting a text, and I want you to come back again. And then they get back and they get an hour's work, then get sent away again. That sort of stuff. Local people won't put up with that. Hey, it's not good enough. You know, organise your business better. And so they prefer the recent arrival immigrants as being easier to exploit in that regard, and they do exploit them. You know, I think unnecessarily, and I would even suggest in many cases illegally. But anyway, that's the thing. So we're not talking about a worker shortage at all. What we're talking about is a globalist imperative, an order that's come from the globalist mountaintop, and they've said, look, you know, COVID slowed down the immigration level, so you've got to ramp it up. You know, Australia, you've been allocated 500,000. England, you've been allocated 2 million. America, you've been allocated 3.5 million. You know, so they're just allocating the numbers that these Western countries have to take and get on with it. No, you don't refer to the people. Start putting the propaganda out in the media, and we want you to fix it. We want you to do it now. We're telling you to do it. We're the globalists. We're in charge, and this is what we're telling you to do. So I think that's really what's going on here. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.